Good afternoon, this is Johnny. I thought I'd do a Friday Reads here in Southwest Michigan. It is 5:10 in the evening here. It's a Friday. It's June the 6th. Yeah, I'm sitting in my driveway, or our driveway. This is where I sit when the weather is nice. I sit out here and I read. I watch the birds, watch the sky. There's always jets flying by up there in the sky from Gerald Earl Ford's airport in Grand Rapids. And there's some birds. Our neighbors have a robin's nest above their door, so I watch the robins in the front yard, and we have birds and chipmunks and squirrels, and neighbors go by with their dogs, and people are running, and so I sit out here reading, and I sit here just thinking about, well, it's kind of like I was thinking before I turned on this camera, that you're always living in the now, but the now is always filled with the past, or with dreams or imaginations, or all kinds of things just go through your minds. I often wonder what old people think about when they're sitting in their assistant living rooms, or in their assistant rooms where they spend out their last days, and they sit in their chair and their eyes are closed. And well, when you get really old, you have a lot on your mind. You've raised children, you've been married, you've worked, you've had relationships with people, and you've watched history go by, wars, political scandals, ecological disasters, earthquakes. If you're a student of history, you think about, well, as Christians, you think about the Bible. As you know, we've been reading through the prophecy of Isaiah in the Old Testament, and reading in the Epistle of Romans in the mornings for devotions. And so you always have all this stuff going through your mind. But then at the same time, you know that what's really real is only God, that God is sovereign, that God is ruling history. God has given you a certain number of days on this earth, and you live them out. And then you go into the eternal state. So as far as Friday Reads, I just thought I'd just share with you what I've been reading this afternoon as I'm sitting out here in the driveway in our little quiet neighborhood. There's no bombings going on. There's no snipers. We don't live in the slums. We don't live in a ghetto. We live in a very middle-class neighborhood. There was a house just a block from us that sold for $500,000. So yeah, it's like housing is so expensive. Our house would probably go for over $300,000 now. If we've been living here going on 34 years, and houses around here go for $300,000, $400,000. There's a house a couple blocks over is going for $600,000 a house. It's just incredible how expensive housing is. But yeah, our house is paid for. We have to pay taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, you lose your house. You might live in a house for 50 years, and you get back on your taxes, they can take it away from you. So yeah, so I got a book in the mail today, and I came across this book It's Patrick White. He's an Australian writer. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature. I don't know what year he won it, but I collect his writings. He's an Australian writer. And this came out in 1981. This is his memoirs, Flaws in the Glass, a self-portrait by Patrick White. Yeah, I came across this. I was reading something recently, and it mentioned this memoir, Flaws in the Glass by Patrick White. And I didn't know he had written a memoir. I have his novels, and even though I've been collecting him for a number of years, I haven't read him, but he's a very famous Australian writer. I don't know if he's still living, but so I picked this. When I cataloged this in library thing, I had over 700 memoirs tagged. That's how come I like memoirs, and I'm always saying that in these videos, that I like biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, and fiction. I have probably 3,000 tags on fiction, 700 on memoirs. I have over 4,000 biographies tagged in my library thing, Book Mountain. But I like reading memoirs, and it says here in the back, a rare and perceptive self-portrait of a great writer's gradual discovery of his creative powers. With candor, force, and emotion, Patrick White writes of his youth in Australia, his English boarding school, his life at Cambridge, and trips to Germany, London during the Blitz, RAF wartime intelligence in the Middle East, and his first meeting with the man who was to become the central focus of his life. I don't know who that man was, but so I've been reading this here for Friday Reads. This morning I read a little bit of The Life of Christ, Volume 1, a reader's edition by Ludolph the Carthusian. I didn't really read much. Well, in the mornings, as you know, my wife and I are reading through the Epistle of Romans in the New Testament, and then we read the devotional book, The Valley of Vision, which is Puritan prayers and meditations, and then we have a time of prayer. And then when I usually look at the email in the mornings, and then I got in this habit of watching lawn transformation videos on Fridays. And of course I write in my online diary. I'm on page 484 for 2025 in my diary. So the morning goes by quickly, and then this afternoon I mowed the lawn. I did the front and back lawn and pulled some weeds, and it's been awful dry here in West Michigan, so I've been watering everything. We have a lot of rose bushes and flower bushes and trees. 6 years ago we had our property landscaped, so we had all these things planted, like butterfly bushes. I did my Carol and I this week, or last week, we did weeding of my wildflower garden. We got a lot of weeds out, my wife and I, we did that. And so there are some wildflowers coming up in the wildflower garden, which I'll show in the future. So the day, Friday goes by. Now tonight, I'm still reading, I can't remember. I'm still reading that novel by Juan, Gabriel, Vasquez. I read that before I go to bed. I'm still reading Ford Madox, Reader. I don't know if I showed that. And I still read those other nonfiction books I showed you that I'm going to read in the month of June and July. I'm a slow reader because I read 4 or 5, maybe 5, 6. I read around 8 or 9 books throughout the month. I'm a slow reader because when I'm reading, I'm always writing, or I'm getting up and I'm looking at my email, or I'm talking to Carol or having a meal, or I go outside and sit here in the driveway watching the neighborhood go by. And so that's Friday Reads. This is my Friday Reads. Patrick White, Flaws in the Glass, a self-portrait. I'm really enjoying this. It's very, I've read about 13 pages. There's a picture of him when he was older. Yeah, I thought about showing my collection of his novels I have downstairs in the lower level, but I thought I'd just stop by and make a video, stop here and make a video, since I haven't done a Friday Reads. I didn't do a Monday. The reason why I haven't shown my Princeton University books that I got at the 50% off sale is I have one more books coming in the mail. And once that comes in the mail, I'll show those Princeton University book haul. I did go to the Book Nook, the library used bookstore this week, and I got a stack of books that I could show in a video. I might do that Sunday, but I don't know. I just thought I'd stop by and do a Friday Reads sitting in our driveway. This is where I read. I drink coffee, watch the birds, watch the sky, sit here and just watch our neighborhood. Like I said, we've been living here 34 years. We know our neighbors. Like I said, last night my wife had her neighborhood women's book club. The women in our block came by and they sat out in the driveway and talked about the book they had read. And not every woman came. I think it were 4 women. So my wife is very close and friends with neighbors. She's always out talking to the neighbors. And we have, on this block, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women who are not married. We have 6 women on this block in our street who are not married. We have an older couple here. Their kids are all grown. There's a doctor on the block. His son's getting married this summer. The people next door here, they have 2 girls and they're grown, and one just got married this year, expecting a baby in the fall, I think. So yeah, this is what I'm reading. Patrick White, Flaws in the Glass, a self-portrait. So I hope you had a good reading week. Thank you for the comments. Yeah, I'm still reading that Bright Circle, 5 Women and the Transcendentalists. Still reading that book on free speech, a history. What else am I reading? Can't remember right now. But I just want to stop by and make a video, show you where I read. There's my car. That car is like, it's like almost 15 years old. When I drove a van for 30 years, I sold it a couple of summers ago. For 30 years I drove this van. And my wife's car is over there. She has a used car that she bought a couple of years ago. But I drive the old Subaru. But I'm rambling here. So thank you for the comments. Thank you for subscribing. Do pray you have a good reading weekend. I pray you're all doing well. And until the next time, bye.